Greetings, everyone! It is I, Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome! Once again, we are talking about tabletop, and I am bringing to you more Shadowrun, well, 5e. I've talked about it before on many a video, but I will continue to talk about it now. 5e and 4e are the two editions of Shadowrun I recommend the most. Not to say that if you're interested in trying out Shadowrun 6e, I wouldn't say against it. It's just one I would not recommend as much as other editions, personally from my own experiences. But again, up to you. But if you are interested in diving into Shadowrun 5e, and especially, that's what we're here today to talk about. I have a lot of information to share with you, to go over some of the basics of Shadowrun 5e, how they differ from Shadowrun 4e. If you've been a person here on my Twitch channel or on my YouTube channel, especially on my YouTube channel, I have previous content for Shadowrun 4e. I'd recommend checking out some of that if you want to understand some of those basic concepts. I'm going to tell you at the end of this entire thing here that I'm doing today, today's episode of talking about it, a lot of Shadowrun 4e fits with Shadowrun 5e. They are highly compatible. There is a document that you can find online that is 8 pages in pretty large type that explains to you the way you change from one to the other. That's it. And 1 page is the title page. So really it's 7 pages of conversion. And after that, you've done it. It's as simple as that. But that's the last thing we're going to talk about. First off, we do really want to dive into a lot of those basic concepts and talk about them. And I'm going to go over them briefly because, again, in a previous video, in a previous series, I talked about basically the same thing. So, Shadowrun, in general, has always been a d6 system. What the hell does that mean? It means that if I am rolling die, all I roll are lots and lots and lots of our good friend here, d6s, and Morning Worm. That's all I'm rolling for Shadowrun here. Boop, 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 boop. Now, I have 1 here, but depending on a dice roll, I'm going to be rolling multiple d6s. Very fireball-y, like 66, 76, 8d6, 3d6, sometimes 2d6. You're probably not going to be rolling 1. So, what you want is a 5 or a 6 on this 6-sided die. 5 or 6. Why? Because that's a hit. A hit is basically a success, a 5 or 6. And each time you roll a set of die, you have a threshold to beat. How difficult it is to beat that threshold, it's the number of hits you have to make. So if I'm rolling 7d6 with a threshold of 4, I have to get 4 of those 7 die to be 5s or 6s. 1's an easy task, 2's an average one, 4 is hard, 5 is very hard, and then anything above that is extreme, but they come up effectively. 6 is very hard, and then 8 or above is extreme. So 6, 7, so 4, 5, hard, 6, 7, very hard, 8 or higher, extreme. Extreme meaning you're not going to do it unless you're like one of the best people at it in the world. You've got a lot of stuff on your side for it. Anyway, there are times where you just make a single roll, and there you go. You get your successes, you're done. There are times where it's various tasks that might be ongoing, where I have to build up a net number of hits that I have to remember this. Things like that can happen. So, yeah. Now, and there's also a very important of buying hits. What does this mean? It is an easy way for you not have to rolling die. Hey, let's say I've got 12 of these nice d6s that I would roll for something. I can buy 3 hits. That means if I have 12 die, for every 4 die I have, I can consider just one of those a success. Now, numerically, it's a little better, technically. But because of the random chance and stuff like that, since it's 5 or 6, that's really the 33% chance. Effectively, they make it that it's a 25% chance. Just to make it a little bit more... Buying a hit is basically saying, I have a huge dice pool. I want to just get some free successes. And you do round down on that. So if I have 15 die, it's still only 3 successes. I need that 16th to get that 4th success. But it's just a way of avoiding certain die rolls. Unlike if I have 4 dice and it's an easy roll, I don't have to roll. If I have 8 dice and it's an average roll, I don't have to roll. That's buying hits. You also, though, have to pay attention to another number. The 1. Now, why do you have to pay attention to 1? A very important reason. If half the dice I roll are 1s, you got a glitch. Something goes wrong. Some kind of problem. And the thing is, if you succeed, it's still a normal glitch. It's still a success. You just have like a little like extra problem to it. If you fail and all your half your dice are 1s, it is a critical glitch, which then not only you're failing chaotically, terribly. Things are going wrong. It's sort of like disarming a bomb and causing it to not only like, I break, like a glitch would be like, I managed to disarm it, but I like break the components in such a way that it's still dangerous. It's like unstable. A critical glitch would be, I don't disarm it and it explodes all of a sudden. That's the kind of thing you have to think about. Like, the 1 is, I did manage to disarm it. I just broke it in a way and disarmed it in a way that's unstable and dangerous still. Oh, hey, I have this unstable, I managed to stop the bomb from ticking. It could still blow up at any time. It's not like the timer's gone, but, jostle a little bit, boom. Other way, just boom. But that's the kind of idea of what a critical glitch versus glitch is. When you make a test, basically a dice roll, I'll call for, me as the GM would call for you to roll something. Traditionally, it's linked to a skill and an attribute you have, just to make it simple, which sounds a lot like, oh hey, Pathfinder or D&D or a lot of other role-playing games where you combine 2 things together to figure out numbers. It's exactly the same way with Shadowrun. When I'm trying to make a test, normally, there are some exceptions here and there, I take an attribute of mine, a skill of mine, add those numbers together, that's how many dice I get. So if I have a 4 in one attribute, a 3 in the skill I'm using, I'd roll 7 die. There is sometimes limits to a test too. What that means is, even if I have a lot of extra hits, if I roll really, really well, there is oftentimes an upper limit of how well I can do. Just because I get a lot of successes doesn't mean I do a lot better at whatever I'm rolling. That's the way you have to think about it, is like, I'm trying to do this one thing. Okay, I get a lot of successes on it. Do I do better? Yes and no. There are sometimes I could do better with more successes. Other times, if I'm just trying to like, jump across a thing, there are maximum limits to the distance a person can jump. You can kind of stretch that a little bit, but like you don't go first. And usually then you'll be informed of the threshold of the test. Like if you are rolling something, I will let you know. Okay, this is the test you make, attribute, skill, and here is how many successes, how many what you have to roll, how many hits you have to get, and then I would tell you if there's a maximum limit. Your average test is just a success test. It's just a simple one like that. It's sort of like you roll attribute plus skill, and then have a threshold. That's it. Pretty simple. I roll 5, 6, 7 dice, try to get my, let's say, threshold of 2, see what I get. The next one is opposed. Of course, it's I roll versus someone. Pretty easy there. We roll against each other. And of course, then there's the ones I was talking about where you build up hits, which is an extended test, which has an interval. This is one that I can roll again and again and again, and though glitches and critical glitches can build into those and can cause some issues, like a glitch could cause something simpler, like, oh, it takes me more time, or I lose, some progress or something like that. Oftentimes more of like a critical glitch would be that. It would be a loss of progress. And it could even cause a test to fail. So there's a lot where you can kind of look at it for testing glitches. It's a thing to think about. And extended tests have their own thresholds and how often you do them. It's got a time interval. There are charts for that to check out in the book if you want to know about those. Teamwork tests is another type of them. It's when more than one person works together. Pretty simple as that. There's a leader of it. You work together to kind of throw out your hits like that. And the big thing about that one is what happens is, a good way to say this is, you have one person rolling, who's your leader. And then each assistant basically makes the roll first. And they make the same check. And if they get at least one hit, they increase the leader's test by 1. And you're adding dice to the leader's pool, is what you're doing. And increasing the limit also that they can have. So that's another thing too. You're adding little bits to what your leader rolls, then they roll. So I'm rolling, however many hits I get, I kind of throw them into the leader's pool. They get a bigger pool, they roll it themselves. There you go. Some things you can try again. There are combat turns. Hey, combat, let's talk about that briefly. It's about 3 seconds as a combat turn. So if we're talking about turns in combat, we're talking about 3 seconds here. Most systems that are the fantasy systems I tend to talk about, like D&D 5e, which I've talked about in the past, or Pathfinders, both 1st E and 2nd E, it's 6 seconds for a combat turn. This is 3. There are also then 3 types of actions you will take. A free action, a simple action, a complex action. Now, honestly, this kind of like breaks down into your turn and how many actions you can take and kind of stuff like that. You would just have to think about that kind of thing, that you have these 3 types of actions. It's the basics. We're not going to dive into depths of the actions you can do today. A lot of that actually is still the same from my 4E videos. So if you want to know about the actions a lot, it's very much the same. So, you've got your character, you've got your metatype. Metatype, of course, is the same as it was in pretty much every Shadowrun edition. Human, elf, orc, troll, dwarf. You've got the basic 5 metatypes. The 5 subspecies of human. Because guess what? All 5 of these are technically human in Shadowrun. They're just subspecies. Because subspecies are a thing. They look very different. And, you know, if you are of 2 parents, you're going to be born one or the other. It's the magic in the universe. Magic fucks with things. Just remember that. Magic screws around with stuff and makes it weird. Attributes. Let's talk about them. There are 8 basic attributes to talk about. 4 physical, 4 mental. 4 physical, your body, your agility, your reaction, your strength. These end up being very easy to describe. Body, your physical health and resiliency. Agility is like hand-eye coordination, flexibility, nimbleness, and balance. Reactions, reflexes, awareness, and responding to events quickly. Strength is strength, how much you could lift and things like that. The mental ones are willpower, logic, intuition, charisma. Willpower, being able to push through adversity, so it's the opposite of body. It's mental fortitude. Logic, of course, is your cold, calculating, rational mind. Intuition is your gut, and charisma, your force of personality, your persuasiveness, your charm in general. Upon the top of these, we have the special attributes, of which normally your character is going to have 2 of these, your essence and your edge. Essence, of course, is your meta-humanity. It's your being your life, your existence. It's at a number that starts at 6, and it can only go down. And it goes down because of, honestly, a lot of reasons. Most of them is sticking cyberware or bioware into your body because it fucks around with your natural ability to exist. You can only put so much in your body before you're more machine than human, and you kind of can't exist anymore. Your body can't support it because there's a spiritual, mystic aspect to this entire thing. It's a magic world. Just accept it. Anyway, edge. It's a luck score. Think of edge as a luck score. It's the easiest way to describe it. There's a lot more that you do with your edge. Again, Not diving into that today, but just know, in general, luck score. The two other ones, which you may or may not have, depending on your characters, are magic. If I have magic, I'm a magic character. And resonance. If resonance, I'm a technomancer. Non-technomancers have a resonance of 0. Hey, non-magic users have a magic of 0. You know, easy things there. I'm just explaining now. I will have visuals for the next part. So this first part here, just explaining the basics. I could throw up or throw out the book as I'm going through it, but I'm going very quickly through the pages of the 5th edition core book. So I'm just going to kind of go over this here, and when we get into the character creation, I'm going to throw a visual up on the screen. So just to know, everybody know. You have an initiative, which is based on your action and intuition. It's a number of dice you can do. There's conditions you can have based on your health. Important things to know there. Your health is based on your body for your physical. Or, hey, your stun is based on your willpower. And, of course, we've got the skills, you know. And if you don't have a rank in the skill, it's called defaulting. Good to note there. A lot of things can have qualities, which are basically like descriptions of various things that you can have. Qualities are things you can have. They're little negative, positive things to affect your character. There's magic, the matrix. We're not getting into a lot of all that today. The other basics that you should know about is you will have contacts. Every character has contacts. It's built into your basic character creation. It's people you know in the world that can help you out in some way. And, of course, you got a lifestyle. Why? Because you've got to live. Are you living on the streets? Do you have a house? What do you do? All right. And, again, I could go into deep detail about Edge right now, because Edge is the last thing in there. But we want to talk character creation now. We want to talk all about the way you make a character in this thing. And I will, bam, throw that up here. There is the most important thing you have to know for your character. It's not the first thing you're going to know, but this chart here is critical to your character's existence. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But, like any good character in any system, you want to kind of start out with an idea, a concept. You know, and that's the kind of thing that you start out with your character creation. Who am I? What am I? What kind of character am I building? Am I building a magic user? Am I building a technomancer? Am I building someone that uses drones? Am I using someone that messes around with the Matrix? Am I using someone that uses a lot of weapons? Am I using someone that has a lot of cyberware? Am I using someone that's the face of the group? Am I using someone that's like has a lot of skills and you know, for the different requirements? These do fall under the archetypes that appear throughout Shadowrunning games a lot of times, and the archetypes are basically ideas that you can use to kind of put down your concept a little bit, kind of narrow it down, and kind of fill you into it. Things like if you're a decker in older editions, which is a fancy way of saying you hack the Matrix. That used to be a giant like piano key back from when they made this in the 80s and 90s, because honestly, at a certain point in time, it became like a super cell phone. Yeah. This became like what you use to hack into stuff, except it's a much more advanced computer than we have now. And these are pretty good computers we have now. In the Shadowrunning world, this became like a small supercomputer, you know. So not only does it run like games off of it, because honestly, you get little plugs that if you plug in your head, you can plug it in your head, or take goggles and wear them. I could go into virtual reality and play virtual reality games with my phone as my computer. That's kind of where the technology got to nowadays, where my desktop is my phone. That's the Shadowrun nowadays. Again, alternate world history, things developed differently. A lot of shit went down, so it understands where we had some chances technically more peaceful to develop stuff. But anyway, so that's concepts. It comes up with an idea. Do you have a sin? Do you not have a sin? Where do you come from? There's a lot of ideas there too, and the basic archetypes are given in the 5th edition book. There are a lot of archetypes you can look at. Spellcaster, Technomancer, those are two easy ones. Rigger, someone that, you know, uses the vehicles or drones to attack people, Face, the person that talks, Street Samurai, your big old fighter, and Decker, your Matrix person. Those are like the 6 basic, but there are expansions on this. I think I will do an entire another video on the various archetypes that have existed throughout all the editions, because most of them, regardless if they are more modern versions of Shadowrun, still are usable for the archetypes. And it does define it a little differently. It's sort of like when I've talked about Pathfinder versus D&D 5e a lot of times. Pathfinder has a lot more classes. They sometimes sound similar, but they form things in different ways. It's the same way with these archetypes, because the fact is, the archetype is not your class. It's just an idea of where you're going at for how you play your character. You can combine them or be anything else you want. You don't have to have a specific one of these, honestly. You can go any direction you want. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Now we talk the priorities. What does the priority chart mean? Well, you as a person, using the priority system, which is a much easier system than the Shadowrun 4e character creation system, I will tell you, this is one of the reasons I do like 5e over 4e, is this very chart here that we're talking about right now, the thing that I've put up on the screen. As you can see there, there's A, B, C, D, and E. What does that mean for me? I'll tell you what it means for you. It means for you, these are where you put your priorities for the 5 different things. Metatype, attributes, magic or renaissance, skills, resources. Those are 5 things that you have to assign a priority to. Do I want my priority in my metatype? Do I want my attributes? Do I want to be magical, have skills, or resources? That's where it comes in. And that's the most important part about this chart that I've got here, is it gives you a visual representation of when I choose a priority, what it means. Now, there is information here I have to break down for you, because just saying the information does not help. What the hell does human 9 mean versus human 1? Yeah. So, there are things that do make a difference here, and honestly, I think I want to bring up another chart here for a second. So, yeah, this is one of the major charts. Run 5e meta type chart. That's right, attribute chart, which I spelled horribly, may I note. I might have to open up the book to like have part of the book pop up for you to see it, to like do this chart, because this one doesn't want to show up. But that's fine. I can capture the Metatype attribute table and show it to you, because what this does is the easiest way to say it is it shows you off what it means to be each metatype. So let's capture that for a second there. We'll move this back here. And then let's make sure to capture this. You know, sorry, it just ended up being a little bit of a difference there. So let's open up this one here. And we'll zoom in a little bit here for you to see it for a second here. I'll open this chart up briefly. So this is the first thing that you're going to look at when it comes to your metatype. This nice chart here, which I think I should also move this over a little bit here, like so, because I think it's cutting off the side. Because I like to do that. Boom, there we go. It shows you your basics and your maximums for your metatype. Because metatype's the second thing you're going to do. We got your concept down. We now have to choose a metatype. We have to choose a priority for our metatype. And I am going to explain what the difference between being in priority A human versus being a priority E human is. But in general, take a look here at this chart. If I am a human, I have 1s across the board for body, agility, reaction, strength, willpower, logic, intuition, charisma to begin with, and my edge starts at 2. So really, that's the bonus humans have, just normal humans, the Homo sapiens sapiens, because they're all Homo sapiens, they're all humans technically, they're just, again, subspecies of it. It's the little bit there is basic bitch humans get a little bit extra edge. You can take a look, you can already see elves get a little bit more charisma, agility, and low light vision. Dwarfs, a little bit more body. Their reaction maximum is lowered. Get a little bit of strength, a willpower. They get bonuses to pathogens, and basically increase in lifestyle cost. Orcs, low light vision, more body, more strength, a little less logic maximum, a little less charisma maximum. And trolls, a bunch more body, a bunch more strength, a little less agility, logic, intuition, and charisma drops. And then thermographic vision, the reach, the dermal armor, and the lifestyle cost increase a lot. So you see, these are the things you get for each of these for these metatypes. And it gives you the basic numbers you start out with. If I am playing a troll, my strength and body are going to start at 5. Well, if I'm playing a human, they're going to start at 1. And I have a maximum. The maximum is normally 5 higher. That maximum tells me how much I can put into those scores to increase them. A troll at the peak form of trollness out of all the trolls that exist is going to be at a 10 strength. It's a lot higher than a human. Their bodies are physically, you're much larger, you're built bigger. You're 9 foot tall versus 6 foot tall. You know, they are built with strength in general. So that's kind of the idea you're going to have to look at when we're talking about these metatypes and these numbers. Those numbers are important. It tells you the basics you start with. So now we look at those numbers. What the hell do those little numbers after the metatype mean? Well, they're effectively called special attribute points. What do special attribute points do? Well, remember we talked about special attributes? Edge, magic, resonance. It allows you to spend points in those. So, think of it this way. If I'm an A priority human and I have 9 points there, I could max out my edge, and if I chose a priority that gives me technomancy or magic, I can put the rest of those points into that. You have to remember, human maximum goes from 2 to 7. That means if I have a 5 in human, I could have maximum edge. So priority C human would have maximum edge, an edge of 7. And as you can see, again, all of the metatypes, it's like some metatypes are more expensive than others to play. You have bonuses which are very helpful in a Shadowrun world. Yes, playing an orc or a troll or an elf, has its discriminations because, yes, we're all Homo sapiens, but people are jerks. It's one of those problems is, people are jerks, hate things they don't understand, and a lot of shit has happened over the, 70 years of Shadowrun's world that have really caused a lot of issues. And so things like, yeah, big mean troll, you're discriminated against, unfortunately. Now, granted, you're big and mean, so they're probably not going to be the same kind of discriminations that, orcs or some of the other metatypes will get. But, that social issues are made up for the fact of, I'm really great at what I do, and what I do might be smashing stuff in a Shadowrunning game. If I'm a street samurai with melee weapons, as a troll, you got a big advantage over a human. You can have a lot more dice. So that's kind of why those metatypes, as they have higher natural attributes, get those bonuses. And, that's again explains why they're where they are when they start on the chart. You have to be D to play an elf, C to play dwarf or an orc, at least B to play a troll. And you can still purchase the 5 extra special attribute points, But again, the human one, it's pretty expensive. But when we talk Magic of Renaissance, take a look at those attributes there. Oh, now we're looking a little differently. Oh, hey, if I'm a B magic, I start with a magic of 4. Do I need to be a human where it has a 9? Sure. 5 of those points can go to, of course, edge. Those other 2, I can only raise my magic by another 2 if I'm playing a magician with a B. I could be playing a magician with a D. But then I don't gain as much stuff. It's a trade-off of where you're looking to balance things out of stuff. So that's a big thing to think about when it comes to your metatype. What do you get from your metatype? And then also, where do I want to put those special attribute points? How do I want to mix and match with them? And we're going to talk that as part of the priority system. Another part here in a second, but that's just the basics. So, we got our concept. We got our metatype. We know our special attributes and our base mental and physical attributes. We got all that. And any special abilities we might get for our metatype. And there are other metatypes beyond this. It was a lot easier to use some of the more unique metatypes in 4th edition. I'm going to tell you, right now, the easiest thing, if you want to use expanded metatypes, which there are a lot of more interesting metatypes out there beyond the basic humans. Guess what? Hey, what did I talk about last time when I talked about Shadowrun history? I talked about things like Sasquatches and fairies. 4th edition has rules for playing those. 4th edition is a point-buy system where everything has a value and you get points for it. Those are more expensive metatypes. There are some rules for playing these in other books than the basic ones. We're not getting into that today. That might be a video for another day, getting into weird metatypes and playing them either in 4th edition or 5th edition Shadowrun. Because there are some really fun ones to talk about. There's some ones that are really difficult to play with, because I've had to attempted to play with them before, like someone trying to play an AI. I don't recommend having someone play the AI in your so really, really matrix-heavy game. Unless you're going to go pretty much a matrix-heavy game, don't have someone play an AI. That's my recommendation. So, boom. Yeah. So we have an idea of how to raise our special attributes. Special attributes are difficult to raise, is the thing. And these special attribute points that you don't spend disappear. You can only spend them on special attributes. So, unless I have a place to spend my 9 points for human priority A, I'm not going to take human priority A. Certainly, as I said, taking priority A human with, let's say, priority D magic would allow you to have a magic of 6 and a edge of 7 to be maxed out. And there is the exceptional attribute that you can kind of take, which could have other maximums, but again, these are things that you're not going to worry about, that allows you to increase maximums. These are things you can fuck around with to make it that you can kind of mix and match a little bit more. Just priority 9, like the priority A humans, rare you're going to play one of those. Normally you're just going to play lower priority humans. But how much special attributes you want? Now we're going to talk mental and physical attributes. Hey, that's where the attributes column comes in. We already have our baseline for whatever metatype is. Now we just get points to distribute between them. That's it. If I choose a priority A attribute, I have 24 attribute points to split between my 8 scores. As simple as that. I can add 3 points to each of them. They'd be at if you're a human and I have a 24 attributes points, you can have 4s and everything. Which is pretty good since that's above average. I'm going to tell you. That is above average. I believe it is still 2 that is average. Yeah, I think it's 2 that would be considered human average. Indeed, there are rules for playing a dragon in 4E because it's point buy, and you can just figure out the points for it. That's why it's easy to do that kind of stuff for low tier dragons. Yeah, in 4E. Again, if you want to go really weird collections of metatypes, I would indeed, in fact, in that race, recommend 4E over 5E. I've done videos of 4E. But I think I will do a metatype video in the future, just talking unusual metatypes for Shadowrun. It seems like a fun one to do. So we'll kind of put that on our list. Unusual metatypes. I'll put that as a list of something to work on in the future. So, again, the entire thing with your attributes, pretty goddamn easy. You know? It is your kind of next jumping off point that you will take. It is the, next priority you're looking at. And that's the thing is here. You are assigning priorities in order. So, when I am doing priorities, I think first where I want my priority for my metatype. Then I think, where do I want my priority for my attributes? I can still be thinking about magic, skills, and money down the line, but I'm kind of starting out at these points in time and thinking about them. And also remember that chart we had? I'll flip this chart back up here for a second, which I think is that one. Yes. Remember, there are maximums. Human, body 1/6. That tells me I start with 1, I have a maximum of 6. Dwarf, 3/8. I start with 3, I have a maximum of 8. That tells me how much I can put in to these scores to reach that maximum. If I have 24, I could spend 5 of it to raise something to a maximum, the natural limit of a stat. And again, some metatypes have advantages with they have higher maximums. Most of these is you can raise it up to 5. There are some ones, again, where you have lower scores, like orcs and dwarfs and trolls have scores that have lower maximums. Trolls can only reach a 4 charisma. You're only going to be putting 3 points into charisma for your natural maximum, unfortunately. But you're not playing a troll to be charismatic. Unless you are, which is really interesting, and you're probably going to make up for your lack of natural charisma with skills. And certainly you could. You could have the face troll. It would be something people wouldn't expect. You're not going to have the natural charisma to do it, but a heck of a lot of skills that make you have all the bonuses and stuff. Could very well work very well. Be a very interesting character. And you can build that just fine. And guess what? You're going to work just fine. This does also allow you to calculate initiative. When I was looking at the chart, again, I'll throw this chart up for a second here. Look at reaction at the back end of the chart and initiative. That is initiative at the back end. It is normally reaction initiative, reaction intuition, I'm sorry. There are other metatypes that can be different. That's why they list it there for the unusual metatypes. Again, not talking about unusual metatypes today. We're just talking about the basic ones, basic character creation. We've done our first 2 things. We have done our metatype, our attributes. We gotta talk goddamn magic. We've distributed our points as we needed to so far. Because magic are resonance. Honestly, most characters, maybe 66% of the characters are probably just going to put an E right into this chart. 66% of them. Think about this. As a face, as a weapons adept, as a street samurai, as so many sprawl ganger, detective. I'm talking about archetypes from old editions and stuff too. As a lot of these different archetypes. Rigger or Decker. None of them are going to be that. Because a Rigger and a Decker are not a technomancer. They use technology. They have items. They're more reliant on skills. Technomancers have a computer in their brain that allows them to bond with the Matrix and access the Matrix with their brain. Magic users have magic. There are sidebars in the book that talk about life as a magic user, life as a technomancer in this different things. Magic users come in, of course, 4 different flavors that you're going to have to talk about. So, that's another thing is, magic users, if you're going to be magic users, 4 different flavors to talk about. And again, it's been an Awakened world. 5th edition was 2075. 6th edition, if you're using that time frame and that history, a little later than that. And you've got your basic magicians. They do all the things. Aspect magicians can look astrally, but they cannot project astrally. So that's the 2 differences between it. Normal magicians, I can astrally project. I can send myself into the astral plane. Aspect magicians, they can look into the astral plane, they can't dive into it. That's the difference between that. That's for magician talk. It works a lot like my 4E stuff. And then, of course, you have adepts and mystic adepts. Adepts, which are basically ninjas, martial artists that put magic into their bodies and channel it through there rather than spells, their enhancings, kind of things. And mystic adepts that are a little bit of magician, a little bit of adept. and you kind of split yourself between the two of them. And it's kind of a neat one. You can get astral projection if you choose to. You never actually project. I don't know. I don't think... Yeah, adepts can't astral project. Only magicians can astral project. And then you got technomancers who are just technomancers. If you want to play one of these, it's fine. Just know the type of game and talk with your GM about it. Is it going to be a very magic-heavy game? Is it going to be a very matrix-heavy game? Or is it going to be something that's very light for your game? How much are you going to dive into these systems? How much do you want your players to dive into these systems? These are important questions because it affects the complexity of your Shadowrun game. I, for one, am a very reality-focused person, but I don't disallow stuff that deals with the astral plane or matrix. I just will tell my characters and my players, I do not prioritize those things. I'm not going to have as heavy builds on what to do with them as those. So if you want to do some stuff with technomancy, it's fine. It's not going to be as in-depth, and you're not going to be able to do as much as, say, a Decker probably, or a Rigger, let's say. A Rigger is even better because a Rigger can control drones and stuff. That's more real world. The same could be said for a magician. If you just want to use magic in the real world, that's fine. If you want to be a full-blown magician and do astral stuff, I'm probably not going to do a lot of astral stuff. That's just my style, because as much as I like all three levels of it, I want to focus one of them because it makes it easier to run Shadowrun, in my opinion, and for me, because, again, Shadowrun can be difficult to run. That's an entirely different choice. We're not even talking about running Shadowrun. That's an entirely different thing. Anyway, there are rules to what you get for when you're looking at, ba-boom, our chart over there. Let's talk about what you get for your chart. So, as you can see, the very basics. If you want to be Adept or Aspect Magician, take a D. You get a magic of 2 to start out with. That can be edited by any remaining special attribute points you have from choosing your metatype. So again, going back to that human, you can be an Adept with a magic of 6. Then, you get into higher things. You get, some bonuses. You could be a magician, mystic, you can be any of them. If you're a magician or mystic adept, you get a magic of 3 and 5 spells. If you're a technomancer, you get a Renaissance 3 and 1 complex form. Complex forms are technomancer spells. But they're not really spells, they're more equivalent to actual programs that you have. So that's what you have to think about it. Actual spells, actual spells. The, Technomancer getting a complex form means that I have 1 program built in. The rating 2 active skill, that's a skill. You get a skill for being an adept. That's pretty simple as that, you know, and it's at rating 2. Because you're inner focused, you're a ninja, you're a martial artist. And the aspect of magician, 1 rating 2 magic skill group. So that's a great way of saying one of the magic skill groups you get at a rating of 2. Again, when we talk about skills, if we looked at my 4th edition stuff before, skill and skill groups are still a thing. So, you know, and then as you go up, you get more resonant skills, complex forms for technomancers, more spells, magical skills for magicians and mystical adepts. And as you can see, you're not going to be taking A for Adept or Aspect of Magician. They don't exist. A is for Full Magician, Mystical Adept, and Technomancer. But if you still want, maximum for an Adept is B. You have a magic of 6 and 1 active rating 4 active skill, which is pretty good. You get a bonus skill at rank 4. That's an active skill. So, you know, can be weapon skill, can be like a physical skill. You just get 1. Pretty good. Because again, you could still have things that affect your guns and stuff as an adept, because you're, you know, messing around your physical abilities, which can also be firing and aiming a weapon. So adepts take many forms. But this is if you're going magical. If you're going magical, you're not going technological. I'm not taking Bioware, I'm not taking Cyberware. I really don't recommend it. You can take probably a little, because sometimes people might be a little, but you have to remember, this is important to note here too, any reduction to your essence, same as 4th edition, reduces your magic or resonance. So if my essence goes down from a 6 to a 5, that -1 applies to my magic and resonance from the maximum I built into my character. Anyway, but that is if you're doing magic or resonance. You're making that big choice. And again, as I said, 66% of characters are probably just going to put an E into that column. You're not really going deep into it. There's plenty of people that just don't do anything to it. Or maybe dive into it a little bit. Once we kind of did that, then we look at, of course, our nice old... now, skills. It is the next priority. That's what I mean. I want to kind of say about this. But you kind of don't really dive into skills yet. And I'm going to tell you why, because it's very important here. Because as much as, skills are really great, that's not step 4. We've had our first 3 steps, concept, metatype and attributes, magic and resonance. Cool. Well, what the heck is the next step? What the hell is step 4? Qualities. I talked briefly about them, but there are positive and negative aspects that can affect how your character works. Why are they choosing some of them now? Well, qualities are important. Qualities affect your basic character in a number of ways. They can do things like make you have higher point value in stuff. You start with 25 karma that you can spend at the end of your character creation. That's bonus points you can spend in places. You can use these to purchase qualities. You can spend some of it or none of it. If you buy a positive quality, it has a karma cost associated with it. You can only purchase up to 25 positives. But you can also purchase negative karma qualities. So why would I purchase negative qualities? Well, they give me karma. There you go. I can have 25 worth of positive qualities and have no karma. I can have 25 worth of positive qualities and 25 worth of negative qualities and still have my 25 karma for my character at the end of the character build. Or I can have no positives and all negatives and have 50. But again, they're negative qualities and they're going to just mess with you in a lot of ways. They give you a lot of negative bonuses in various ways. There is a whole bunch of them in the book that you can look over for various qualities, both positive and negative. They give you changes to skills in various places and attributes and things like that where negatives and bonuses apply. I'll just give you a good example as the first positive quality is ambidextrous. You can use things in an offhand without suffering a -2 dice pool penalty. Basically, you normally have a primary hand and offhand. So normally in offhand, I'd have a -2 dice pool penalty. I don't have to have that. So I can handle things in both hands. That gets into super into combat stuff, which we're not doing today. But just know, hey, it's good. It costs you 4 karma. That would be the cost of it. Another one, costing you 14 karma. Aptitude. I have skill limit of 12. Oh no, the standard skill limit is normally 12. You can have it to 13. I'm sorry. What it does for character creation, because in character creation your skill limit's normally 6, you can have a set 1/7 during character creation. Cool. It cost me 14 of my karma, but I have that maximum limit of 13 now. Hard to get to. And there's a lot of other ones that give you things like that, including things that affect attributes, give you bonuses to various locations, things that reduce wound penalties. These are the positive qualities that you can take. And many of them will just give you various boosts in places, and they have either, some of them have a straight up karma cost, some of them have a choice between 2 karma costs depending on the version of it you want to take, and some of them have ratings. Something like magic resistance has a karma cost of 6, max rating of 4. I could spend 24 on it and have a magic resistance of 4. Similarly, there are negative qualities, like addiction. It tells you... It gives you penalties, has a karma bonus, and it also does bad things to you. Allergies, bad luck, bad reputations. There's a lot of them in here, and they are, when I say that they are bad, they give you problems for your character. And a lot of times these negative qualities not only give you penalties when it comes to things your characters can do, but it also gives a lot of social issues and problems too. I'm an addict. I've got some horrible allergy that could cause me to die. You know, these are problems. You know, maybe you're prejudiced against things and stuff like that. Hates and stuff. Sensitive system. It's hard to have cyber implants. A lot of different things. So you certainly can take a look at all of these and see if you want to take some of them to get bonuses. And I will tell you, qualities show up in other books. So if there are other books that have been published, you might want to check them out. Alright, now we have our qualities. They've affected our character a little bit. We've built into that. Qualities, we had our points. Maybe we spent the 25 positive, 25 negatives. Maybe we spent our 25 bonus karma to purchase some, but we didn't take any negatives. Whatever we want to do doesn't mean. What we want to look at here is the 2 numbers in the skill column. What the hell do those mean? Well, the first number is the number of skill points a character has to spend on individual skills. I have, if I'm looking at that chart directly and making a choice, let's say I want to take that good old priority of A. I have 46 skills to spend individually on a skill. 46. Now, the thing is, they're generally used to purchase acts of skills, but you can use them to purchase knowledge and language skills if you want. It's not necessarily recommended, but depending on your character, that might be good for your character. Because there are other places you get knowledge and language skills. This is a great place if you want to spend them on that, you can. And you do get the karma later on. Remember, karma at the end of your character creation to spend, so you could spend some and get some more points and skills if you want. And again, 1-to-1 on those points there for the skill. That's an important thing too. 1-to-1. So like if I have that 46, I could spend all of that in various places to get there. But what we also want to talk about here is the maximum you can have. The highest a character can have in a skill at character creation is 6. 7 if you took the aptitude positive quality. Afterwards, maximum is 12 or 13 if you have aptitude. So, that's another important thing. If I have 46 skill points to spend, I'm going to have nearly 8. I can have nearly 8 maximum. But I still can only raise to 6. The second column. Let's talk about the second column. There's how many points you can spend on skill groups. So, skill groups are a bundle you purchase. You have all of those individual skills at the rating you purchased the skill group at. If you wish to break up a skill group during gameplay and raise only one of those skills, you're free to do so, but you can no longer purchase the skills as a group until all skills are at the same rating. So, I get my individual skills first, and then my skill groups second. Skill groups are, again, purchased at a rating of 1-to-1. So as you can see there, again, when we're using A as the things, you have 10 ranks to throw into skill groups. Skill groups can't be broken up during this part of your character creation. You can't. Skill groups can be broken up when you use your karma. So right now, skill groups are going to be together. You're purchasing all as a group. So honestly, though you're purchasing your active skills first, you might want to look at what skill groups you want to purchase. If a skill is part of a skill group and you're thinking to yourself, I want to purchase that in a skill group, take a look at them. You're going to want to be familiar with them. You're purchasing those non-skill groups first, but you're doing them one after another. So it's a good idea to kind of like take a look at them. And again, if you already have something in an active skill at a higher rate that you put points into first, you can't purchase that skill group. And again, you're not breaking up those skill groups until either gameplay or during when you spend karma. And you have to spend all these points during character creation. Can't save them. Yep. And you can't duplicate from skill groups, definitely. With skill groups, you can use points to purchase a specialization. You become extra skilled in a skilled for some kind of reason. That's the easiest way to describe it. It basically gives you +2 to a dice pool to skill tests involving a specialization. It costs you 1 of your skill points to add a specialization during character creation. But it is a way to cheat the maximum of 6. Think about it this way. If I have the blade skill to a 6, and then I spend an extra skill point to get a specialization in, let's say, axes, now I have 8 dice when I use an axe. But only for axes. An individual skill may have more than one no individual skill may have more than one specialization. That's an important part of it. So you can only specialize in a skill once. But it is a way to get a couple of extra dice if your specialization occurs. It is, though, important to say during a character development. So, post when you start. When your character has had time to do stuff in-game, you can gain other areas of expertise and can add more specializations to the same skill. But during creation, you only get 1. That's an important thing to say. Specializations can be purchased using karma at the end of a character creation. But that is an important thing to say. You can add more specializations later on once you're in-game. That is something that is mentioned. So, but during character creation, no. And you can't specialize for skill groups. Because skill groups are all together and are very generalized. So, I can specialize in those skills that I spent individual skills on, but I can't specialize in anything I purchased through a skill group. If you break up a skill group during the final step where you have those extra karma points, then sure, you can specialize one of those. You broke it up. It's no longer part of the skill group. There you go. There are some restricted skills too. Important to note, those are ones that you either have to have magic or resonance to take. I keep calling it Renaissance as resonance. So if I don't have magic or resonance, I can't take those skills. There you go. And the knowledge and language skills, you get free knowledge and language skill points equal to your intuition plus logic rating times 2. They're like skill points. 1 point gives you 1 rank. You also get 1 language you're native in. The extra points are spent to know other languages. You'd put an N under that. There are examples of various knowledges, but the categories of knowledge are academic, interest, professional, and street are the categories. And then under those, there are sub-examples. You don't take a category of a knowledge, you take a sub-example. Like an academic would be biology. If you have an interest, maybe you know about pop music. Professionalism, you know about law. Street, you know fences. It would be general knowledge of fences, not like, you might know some individual fences. You have no contact with them. They're also, they give common knowledge skills, common language skills too. There's a bunch of them. Hey, guess what? English, Japanese, Mandarin, Russian, French, Italian, German, Aslant or Spanish, which is, for Aslant, Spanish, Lakota, Dakota, Dine, which is Navajo, and then the Ferial, which is the Elven language, and Ortset, which is the Orc language, are all very common. Other languages could exist too. If you want to be from wherever and have whatever language you want, you can have it. And they've got a lot of common knowledge skills. So that's your thing there. And remember what we said. You can purchase other things, other languages and knowledge skills with your skill points if you really want to. The book provides a list of the skill groups. There are 15 of them to choose from, including one that is for, well, 2 that are technically for, three magic ones? Oh god, there are 3 magic ones. You know, there are 3 magic ones, including 3 magic ones. Yep. And I think 1 resonance one. It lists individual skills under the attribute they are connected with. Every attribute at least has 1 skill for all 8 of your basic ones. Most of them, actually all of them have at least 2 skills, but including body, strength, and willpower. Each got 2. So you can take a look at those. You can do your skills. That's your big part. You've got your points. You've got your skill, group ranks. We're done that. Now is the time for the final chart and the final priority. You get money. Money, 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 money. You get to buy stuff with your money. You want to spend all of your money. Because, well, not necessarily. If you want to, you can have some starting money. How much starting money? 5,000 Nuyen. That's it. If you have 5,000 Nuyen or less, that's your starting money. Anything over 5,000 is lost and cannot be recovered. So, and Nuyen cannot be converted to karma. But you can convert some of your karma during the final step to Nuyen if you want to spend a little bit more. You convert up to 10 karma from that 25 karma you get at the end, plus maybe any bonuses that you get from negative attributes if you went more than positive, into 2,000 Nuyen per karma point for gear, meaning you can have up to 20,000 extra, and that's it. 20,000 extra on top of your possible. I don't know, if you chose an E, you would have had 6,000, which isn't a lot. But if you chose A, you got 450,000, which is a lot. Honestly, if you're going resources A, you're probably buying a lot of cyberware and bioware. You're a street samurai most of the time. But there is a checklist of gear to go down that you want to kind of think about. Weapons, ammunition, clothing and armor, cyberware and bioware, your comlink, basically your computer in your pocket, which is like, you know, your super desktop in your pocket. Any kind of fake sins, fake licenses. A cyber deck, you know, which is an advancement to this thing that makes it be able to hack and stuff. Programs, tools, breaking, entering tools, survival equipment, your lifestyle. You want to purchase one of those. Vehicles you might have, drones if you're a rigger, biotech things, to buy some drugs or things for medical, disguises, sensory and sensory enhancements, magical goods, certified cred sticks, basically for certified cred sticks is basically I have a chip for cash because there's not any physical cash. You have a cred stick which basically has cash on it, and maybe you want a certified cred stick which actually works anywhere. And of course, Dockwagon contacts to have Dockwagon come and rescue you if you're in a place getting shot the shit up. The most common thing you're purchasing is actually technically the first 3. I gotta be honest about this. Getting some weapons, whatever kind of weapon it is, ammunition for those weapons, because guns are the top thing, and a little bit of clothing and armor are probably the first 3 things you're gonna do no matter what. But after that, a lot of people are gonna take a look at this cyberware and bioware section and start choosing it. Not only do they have physical costs, all of them have essence costs. Which means, hey, my essence of 6 starts going down. And, you know, there is a lifestyle thing. You know, if I live on the street, I'm free. There are disadvantages to being a person living on the street. There's disadvantages to being in various places for lifestyles. There's advantages to it, too. So you want to kind of choose a lifestyle you can afford that's good for you. And one of the important things about lifestyles is, and here's the thing about lifestyles is, you remember that 5,000 Nuyen I say you could have left over from spending money here? That's not technically your starting nuyen. You're adding that to your starting money. That's the way you have to think of it. If I leave 5,000 left over from spending money, I can throw it in my starting money, which is based on my lifestyle. My lifestyle determines my starting money. If I'm living on the streets, I get a D6 times 20 starting money. I get nothing. On the other hand, if I chose luxury and spent the 100,000, I get 66 times 1,000 starting money. That's a lot. But now we've hit starting money. We've hit your lifestyle. We've hit spending all that money. We've probably gone through all the different things you have to spend over. We're done our priority chart. We've chosen our priorities. We've used them. We've gone through the basics of our character. It's time for our two final steps, Step 7 and Step 8. And you know what Step 7 is? It's our favorite one to do right now. Spending karma. Yay! Bum, 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 bum. Boop. You have to remember, we have rules for this. There is a chart. Additional purchases and restrictions. Let's look up that see if I can find that chart really quickly. Actually, no, we can throw it out from the book. I'll just do the book version of it here, because I got that set up. Boom! Ba-bum! Additional purchases and restrictions. I have at least 25, maybe more if I purchased a bunch of negative qualities without positive qualities, up to 50. If I really want to screw over my character, probably not worth it. I'm going to tell you that on that one there to do that kind of thing. It's not min-maxing, by certainly. And these are the basic costs of some additional purchases you can make. Now, are these the only purchases you can make with some of your karma? No, they're not. We have another, I think we have another chart in here too. Let me see if they've got it here. Oh, these are special restrictions and purchases. Okay. So, yes, those things there are the additional ones. But otherwise, we got to go to another page here for character advancement, which we'll look at there. We still have some limits. You have to remember those limits. And the more important thing is, you don't technically have to spend all your karma here. Okay? So, that little chart that I threw out there, those are additional purchases and limits. It's depending on those things that you have maximums that you can have during your character creation. That's an additional stuff. You want to check that chart there. Okay? We're going to talk about the basics of buying in a second here, and the chart for that. But, if you want to keep some of this karma, whether you had the 25, whether you have more from more negatives, qualities, you can only carry over 7. 7's it. Okay? After that, can't carry it over. But we do want to take a look here at our advancement chart, which I believe is, got to go to that page. I probably should have just taken the page. Where's the table? Oh, they don't have a table. Okay. So, you have to spend a certain amount of karma for advancement, effectively. And the karma costs for advancement work the exact same way, I believe. Sorry, they don't. Spending karma attributes or skills refer to rules. Yeah. It still costs the same as it would cost in a normal character to advance things. Is one of those things about this bonus karma you get. So, when we talk about those costs and we go into those costs are going to be the exact same as it would be. I'm going to throw this one up here just to show you. Attributes are incredibly expensive to raise. Now, granted, you could raise a 4 to a 5 with your 25 points. So attributes, probably not going to be raising unless you're raising smaller attributes. Skills, on the other hand, active skill group, knowledge skill, language skill. It tells you like the desired rating and how much it raises effectively. Here's the better part here. New specialization for active skill, language skill, karma cost of 7. New knowledge skill, language skill 1. New positive quality, karma cost times 2. Remove a negative quality, bonus value times 2. Complex form, new initiative spell. But the desired rating, basically, when you go up from one and another, you can see the costs here. So going from a 1 to a 2 costs you 4. Going from a 5 to a 6 from an active skill costs you 12. For an active skill group, it costs you 30 to go from a 5 to a 6. Knowledge skill's only 6. I don't know if they've got a better chart for this. This is unfortunately one of those ones that I don't think they have the best charts for this here. They've got some better charts than some of the other books and stuff like that. But the entire idea is the cost to improve an attribute is your new rating times 5 karma. So if I'm at 4, and I'm raised to 5, it would cost me 25 karma. New rating times 4. To raise an attribute would be, for an active skill, new rating times 2. Okay? The skill group, I believe, yeah. If you're purchasing it for the first time, buying up to a certain one, there was that on that chart, buying it for the first time. If you're buying a language skill or knowledge skill, it's rating times 1. And skill groups are rating times 5, similar to attributes. So, that little bit of knowledge in mind tells you how much you can purchase using karma. Not a lot, but again, you have 25 to 50, and you can carry over some. You can spend some for money, you can spend some in various places, so you can still add little boosts here and there using karma. It's the same rating as you would during the game. Remember, we said you can carry over karma. Karma is your experience points used to raise your character's attributes and skills and a bunch of other stuff during the game when you advance your character. Now, there is one other thing that we're talking and spending your leftover karma, because you can spend your karma on it, and it was on that chart I showed off earlier. Contacts. Contacts have a karma cost. You get free karma to spend on initial contacts equal to your charisma rating times 3. Well, what can I spend that on? Each contact has a connection rating and a loyalty rating. They have to start at least at 1 each of those. Connection is how much influence it has. Loyalty is how much they like you. That's the easiest way to describe it. And, the big thing about all of that is you add those two numbers together to figure out its karma cost. Yep. It's as simple as that. And you get that karma cost to buy it. So, if you have to have I believe there's maximum, let me go to the page for that one, because I have to jump through pages. Thank you, book, for packing me. Jump to basically other pages to give the basic bit of information here. They're scaled from 1 to 12 for connection and 1 to 6 for loyalty. So, if I have a charisma of 6 and 18 points, I can have a connection 12, loyalty 6, 1. But, unfortunately, you can't, because you can't start with a connection higher rating than 6 when you start the game. I said the 18. But, you start with the 6 and 6. You can have one. A pretty good one. Very loyal. Got some good contacts. 6 would be like a, city sprawl mayor, governor, noble fixer, mid-level executive in a medium-sized corporation, things like that. 12 is basically global figure. A key executive in a AAA megacorp. That's 12. Can you get that in the course of a game? Yes. Is it easy? No. But no, World of Darkness is worse. I gotta be honest. World of Darkness is the worst book layout. This isn't great either, though. they do have it organized in a very interesting end way that makes sense. It's just a little jumpy. I compare it closer to Pathfinder 2nd Edition's book layout, where it's a little bit of a jump around, which isn't great. Unfortunately, like, you know, they include all the information. Just you have to kind of reference pages a lot of times. And certain things aren't great in the layout. Is it worse than World of Darkness? Hell no. World of Darkness is so terrible. God. It is actually similar to World of Darkness. That's the other thing that reminds me of. It's actually very similar in the way they put their layout to World of Darkness in the books here. That I do have to say. Yeah. I just thought about it there. So yes. Again, it's 1-to-1 for connection and loyalty for how much you have to spend. If you have 18 free contact karma, you can, you know, get 18 worth split out between connection and loyalty. And great, you could have a bunch of people that have a little bit of connections and not a lot of loyalty. You could have some people at higher level. Again, you can have up to 6 in both of those if you really want to. You don't need to. And the other thing is, dun 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 dun, you can spend some of your contacts. Remember that chart I showed off over here? You can spend your karma that you got for additional purchases on your contacts. And the other important thing, though, that they do say here for restrictions is the sentence that says, any signal combat may not have more than 7 karma spent at character creation. There's no limit how many contacts you can purchase. So, there is a limit, and you can't have the 6 and 6. You have a 1 and 6, or a 6 and 1, or something in the middle. So, you can have someone that's got a lot of power, but not a lot of friendship with you, or someone that's got a lot of friendship with you, but not a lot of power, or something in the middle. So, that is some limits that you have here. I had to remember the limits. Sorry. But, now, we've spent our karma. Cool. Maybe we raised some attributes. Maybe we got some extra skills. Maybe I got some magic stuff because I'm a magic user. Maybe I got some more contacts. Now it's time for the final calculations. This is like your initiative, your intuition plus your reaction. Keeping an idea of like a couple other things for your kind of final checklist of stuff. If you have astral initiative, matrix initiative, your inherent limits for your attributes, which is important to note because your inherent limits are basically, you know, that's some other stuff that you might have to worry about. Condition modifiers for physical stun and overflow, living persona, reputation, all that kind of stuff. There's a final calculations table, and you basically want to take a look at other things on your things. You got to make sure you have each of your priorities. Remember priority chart that we've been having here the entire time? You want to make sure you have an A, B, C, D, and E chosen. You have to remember all of your applicable advantages and disadvantages for your metatype. You have to make sure that you raise your edge, magic, and resonance with your special attributes to their maximum. If you have some left over, tough shit. Use them to best you could. You have to make sure you spent all your attribute points. You have to make sure that your magic and resonance has been recorded appropriately on your sheet, and any other bonuses you got from that column are there. You have to make sure that you got all of the basic qualities and where they affect them noted. You have to make sure that you have all of your skills appropriately calculated together. And all your purchases, you should keep track of the money you spend because you should check it over when you're done. Write it out, and then you can erase it later. We use goddamn computers nowadays. Have a notepad file listing everything you purchased with the costs to pay attention to it so you can double check you spent your money correctly. Calculate your essence, initiative, inherent limits, all that kind of stuff. And then check your karma spending for that remaining karma. Did I want to save 7 over? Did I not want to? Whatever. There we go. We've made a Shadowrun character. Is there a lot more details to this shit? Technically, yes. There is more stuff to go into, but I'm just telling you how to make the character today. We can talk about skills, and talk about skill groups, and talk about magic, and talk about resonance, and technomancy, and talk about equipment. So the cows come home, because there's a lot of details here, and maybe I will talk about some of this. But to note, a lot of the 5th edition stuff, a lot of this stuff is pretty similar between editions. Again, go check out the 4th edition stuff. But now's when we talk about something important, because we're going to talk about what it means to go between 4th edition and 5th edition. We're going to do that because, honestly, that's one of the things I wanted to handle today. We've done over the basic concepts. You kind of have to know they're fairly similar. I did forget one thing. Step 9 is just honestly like finalizing your background and getting your GM approval. That's just, I write out a background and go, hey GM, is this correct? Do I have to do anything? Should I change something? What do you think about this? Yeah, so that is something you do. You go to your GM and like ask that. But now we will pull out, and I'm going to go to a different one here. I'm going to go to... Is this the one I want to go to? No. I do want to go to this one here. I wish to go to the Shadowrun Catalyst Games Conversion Guide from 4th edition to 5th edition. This mighty and powerful free 8-page document. So, metatypes and bonuses are rearranged. That's it. Otherwise, they're exactly the same. Skills. Some skills went away. Some new skills were added. As you can see, they list some old skills here and where they would be for new skills. A big major thing here that they talk about is your skill ranks. In 4th edition, your skills were ranked from 1 to 6. Guess what? You can multiply your skill ranks by 2. And take that many karma to spend other, So, it's a direct trace for skills for skill ranks of specific 1-to-1 basics. Meaning for every rank of skill you had a disappearing skill, you get a rank of the new skill. Alternately, you can multiply your ranks by 2 and take that many karma to spend on other skills or skill groups. So the 2 things you can do. Otherwise, honestly, you can kind of go to 1-to-1 in basic character creation. Remember, your character can start off with a maximum of 6 and go to a 12. Why don't you double your skills for everything? Well, character creation just have a maximum of 6. It's exactly the same. 12 is an in-game thing. They just increased the in-game limits. So honestly, skills are fairly 1-to-1. And again, you can trade these skills or get some extra karma to spend on things if they mixed into another skill you already had. And, so this is very good for just basic character creation. There's some new skills here. New skill. Skills you may take ranks from. They list some skills that you might have had before. And if you want to move those skills over, there you go. They give you option of rearranging some skills here. So, already we've done a lot here in 3 steps. We've gotten our attributes. We've gotten our skills, including getting rid of some old skills. We've added some new skills if we wanted them. Shifting skill groups. Had their names changed. Or new skills put in them. Or some skills removed. They should just act if they had the skills in this group as completely composed in Shadowrun 5th edition. So they say, like, if a skill group changed in some way, act as if you still had all that skill group. That's it. Skills that have had some name changes, they tell 2 of them that have had their name changes. That's it, change their name. Some of them had their attributes shifted. That's it, change the attribute. Done. Now here is what it is. Skill caps have been raised from 6 to 12. So, here is where they put it at. Yes, I was talking about that you should have higher skill if you had current rankings in something. Here's where it is. It's not just 1-to-1. If I had a 7 in something, I've got a 12. If I had a 6, I have a 10. If I had a 2, I've got a 3. A 3, I got a 4. 4, I got a 7 then. That's the adjustments. So there are some advantages to the old skill groups for having up a higher 6 in your old character. You might have a 12 now that a starting character wouldn't have. But it's your old character and, you're converting it. Qualities. Oh, boy. Some qualities just went away. And honestly, they list a bunch of them that went away here. Some negatives just went away. There are no karma bonuses or penalties or rewards for changes to quality. So qualities just go away. There are some new qualities in 5e, that same name as the quality in 4e. Just take the new quality, they say. The quality might work differently. That's it. Might have to live with it. And then those, they just went away. Boop, 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 boop. And they give you rules for what happens when you go away. Here, very easily. So, like, if you're erased, they just tell you what you get here. And some of them give you some bonus, some points and stuff like that. Gear adjustments. There are basic equivalents for Shadowrun 4e core rulebook gear and Shadowrun 5e core rulebook gear. Use them when possible. Other gear adjustments should be made by combining efforts of players and GM. Basically, a lot of the gear carries over. If it's something that doesn't carry over from 4 and there isn't a version of it in 5, talk with your GM. Because you could have stuff from some of the other books, other than the core book, And then, of course, you have the inherent limits right here, your mental, physical, and social. And, of course, specialty characters. They talk about being a decker and how programs have changed. They talk about being a technomancer and how complex forms have changed. They talk about being a mage, and honestly, there's very little changes in mages. And a karma adjustment for skills table. They changed that a little bit. Guess what? It turns out spells and foci are pretty much the same. A lot of adept abilities are mostly the same. So, and it's a lot of complex forms just have, like, different names and different ratings and stuff. But you can see here, it is really easy to change. I'm going to move me back in the center here. It's very easy. This like 8-page guide is really easy. It is different enough, is I think the way that you want to talk about it. Because that's the thing between editions, is 5th edition Shadowrun is very similar to 4th edition Shadowrun. But there are some major changes the way they did skills. Because you have double the skill ranks, you have much higher thresholds and stuff. So already, the number system has changed. Think of it another way. The priority system changes vastly the way character creation and character balance and creation is made. There are changes in various skills and, skill groups, shifts in the attributes in use, qualities that have changed in the way that you get some of these qualities, various things that have changed for using when you're doing stuff with the Matrix. All this sounds like a lot because it technically is. But it is enough of an uplift to make a 5th edition, in a way. But it's also enough of an uplift to be very close to 4th edition. A lot of Shadowrun editions are close enough to each other. 3rd edition also had a very close tie-in with how 4th edition worked. 3rd edition was a very heavy departure from 1st and 2nd edition, which were very similar to each other. And it was a complete departure in the way that it worked into 3rd edition. And 6th edition is a big departure from 5th edition, honestly. So 3rd, 4th, 5th edition have very similar ties to each other, but are different enough that they kind of work well and differently to each other. There are other differences in the book and the way things run. I think that's the important thing to talk about it. In the nitty-gritty of things begin to change enough that you can call it a different edition that's not just an update. But it is definitely very similar. And that's one of the reasons that they are very convertible. And that's why I'm going to tell you, to kind of finish up today, all my 4th edition videos give you a great idea how it works. A lot of them still work. I can't say all of them work, but if you are familiar with my 4th edition videos I did years ago, you will have an idea on how 5th edition runs and works. There are still some things to change and talk about, and plenty of stuff to talk about in 5th edition that I probably want to go through. I'll probably want to go through archetypes at some point in time, because that's a good one to talk about. The expanded metatypes, and some other things that I think would be good to go over when it comes to talking about this stuff. But I will definitely save that for another day. I think this is a pretty good spot to leave off here. Talking for quite a bit here. And we have dived deeply into this. And yes, I will agree with a sentiment here that the book does have a confusing setup to a degree. if you understand what they're trying to go for, it isn't terrible. But the thing is, it's still not laid out great. They sort of introduce you to the character creation, and they go pretty heavily into depth in that character creation in that chapter. Rather than just going over the basics and saying, go reference these chapters, which honestly a lot of other things like D&D or Pathfinder do. They're like, here are the steps. Go to these places to learn more about these steps. You know, here are some steps and what you do for those steps. Go running over there to like go into the depths about these steps. I mean, they do that a bit, but then of course they kind of like organize their things in various ways. The book layout isn't great. It's no World of Darkness layout, which just has weird shit in there. But they have some of that also stuff there in 5th edition, honestly. So, I don't know. Shadowrun, World of Darkness, they're competing for worst layout ever. I do have to say they are. But honestly, Pathfinder 2nd edition has a pretty terrible layout for their core book too. I've said that. But anyway. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I talk tabletop. There'll be more Shadowrun in the future. For those of you that are enjoying this and wanted to learn a little bit about playing in Shadowrun 5th edition, honestly. I hope you have a good idea on the basics of how to make a character. There are some things that you are going to want to like look in a book and stuff like that, or there's like a quick start guide to give you a little bit. Free quick start guide's a pretty good place to look, and there is one for 5th edition. So if it would be a good place if you don't own the book and you want to take a look at some things, I recommend getting that. Or if you're maybe familiar with 4th edition, get the conversion guide. It'll give you an idea of how to convert between 4th edition to 5th edition. Again, I recommend 4th, 5th edition over 6th edition any day, but you can play any edition. Heck, you can play 1st edition. It still technically works. It's a mess, but it works. I have to tell you, I played 1st and 2nd edition Shadowrun. They're a mess. Maybe one day I'll talk about those and how they're different. That might be a topic for another day. And, you know, what it means to make characters and stuff in those editions. Because those are a thing. And there's some, like, mechanics that you would understand that have to be talked about one day. Kind of like talking about AD&D and THAC0 and stuff. Things like that. But, anyway. Remember, check out everything. If you're joining live on Twitch, hey, thank you. Glad to have you here. Always, you know, check out links. Chat and chat. If you're joining on YouTube, leave a comment. Talk about stuff. Ask some questions. And, hey, thank you for joining me there. Also check out links. Maybe you want to check this out live every Tuesday and Thursday around 1 p.m. on twitch.tv/Tantus the Dracovin Empire. I was going to say my name for a second there. Of course, the Dracovin Empire on YouTube, too, where this video will eventually go up. Anyway, I think that's it for today. I think that's all things I have to shout out. So everyone out there, again, thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned. And until those next time where we talk about some more tabletop, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.